And one soldier says to the other, "That was surprisingly easy. How come the robotic uprising used spears and rocks instead of missiles and lasers?" If you look to the historical data, the vast majority of battle winners use pre-modern weaponry. And this is exactly the challenge. Exactly the challenge. AI requires a labeled data set. And how you label the data set affects the outcome. Okay, so the robots looked at how many battles were won by which weapon. Now, if instead of that, they would have looked at how weapon sets performed against each other, did largely bow and arrows outperform swords? Did spears outperform swords? Did horseback outperform bows and arrows? I don't know the answers. And maybe that's why they didn't do it that way. But the machines just added up the number of battles won by which weapon and came to the conclusion that spears were the best weapon available. So the robots picked up spears and got cut to ribbons. But that's exactly the issue we face. Okay, now, having said that, let's move along. Google, Facebook met with or spoke at the Media Rating Council meeting in Madrid, in Malaga, Spain, and they said that it was the conclusion of a year-long audit to try to identify the basic areas where fraud is creeping in. And of course, part of the problem with fraud is that the browser, let's say me, browsing the internet, is not fully revealed to the browsee, to the website. You get my IP address, and from that you can derive my rough location, although everybody knows you can cloak that and look like you're a British citizen so you can watch Doctor Who on the BBC. It's possible. I'm not saying I've ever done it. But anyway, so there's a fundamental anonymity built into the internet. Now, how do we get around that? Well, one of the ways we get around it is we drop a cookie on your site, on your computer. So when you visit ESPN, or maybe you do weather and you check the weather, or maybe your phone is a devil. Phone sits still at night, and we can tell the cell towers on your phone. Now, if we couple your phone and where it's sleeping with a couple of cookies, we can probably get pretty close to your household address. And that's the kind of shenanigans that's going on behind the scenes that you can't see. So the Media Rating Council was basically saying, if all the phones are sleeping in some ad fraud farm in Russia, and I don't want to malign Russia or China, I just have seen videos from them. I'm sure there's plenty of them in plenty of places. That's part of the fun of it. You want them all over the place. That makes it harder to check. Okay? But those guys bank on that, also that anonymity. So they go around and collect IP addresses and collect cookies from legitimate sites, and then they go visit your site. And so anyway, this was all audited. And the problem is that it makes ad tracking darn near impossible. If a third, yesterday we were talking about 22% of digital media ads were fraudulent, or media traffic was fraudulent in India. That makes it really hard to weed out viewable inventory and fraud. Okay, it makes it hard. And Google essentially said changes in the privacy landscape are creating a paradox. This is important for you to see, a paradox. So Google is saying, gee, we're not allowed to really track down where people are and get in because of consumer privacy. So we don't know who's who, and then maybe some of them aren't real. And simultaneously be both transparent and protective of their users' data. It's a tough puzzle. It's basically an impossible puzzle. And I've been talking about that for months now. Okay, now here's another piece of the AI puzzle that you really need to think about. AI relies on human data labelers. I was talking with somebody yesterday, PhD in sociology, I think, and she brought up that that CAPTCHA story, which is a great story. CAPTCHA basically was created to take words that were fuzzy in original scans of library books that they were trying to scan them, and they were trying to digitize them. They were trying to turn a picture of the page into basically what you'd get if you typed the page, but without having people type it. It's called optical character recognition. Sometimes it gets the words, and sometimes it can't figure out what the word is. So if you remember, you used to type in the computers. If you want to get to a website, they would go in. They would bring up a word and say, "What's this word look like to you?" Well, what they'd really done is they'd hired thousands of people to basically put a vote on what was that word, because the computer couldn't figure it out with optical character recognition. And so, in doing so, they got free labor from us and got a pretty good assurance that it wasn't a computer, because the computers already admitted they couldn't recognize it. Now, what happened? Why? Now there are stop signs in cars. Did you notice that there are stop signs, stop lights in cars in pictures? Why? It's because they're trying to sell that data to the self-driving car industry. Because the car has to recognize what a stop sign looks like, and it'll be in different angles, different light, different weather conditions. So it's letting us humans find the stop signs, find the traffic lights, find where is a car in this picture. Have you noticed that pattern? Okay, you are free labor, okay? But some people can't wait forever, and so they want to get this done, and so they hire low-paid AI sharecroppers. Now, I was a little shocked. What I want you to understand, the big takeaway is you need a labeled data set. You need somebody to look at this stuff and say, this is a stop sign, this is a traffic light, this is a car, this is a pedestrian, in a wide variety of contexts, because the computers can't do it very well. They don't understand the context of the picture. Okay? Human brain can do that much better. So they pay people to go and do that recognition. Before an AI system can identify images on its own, a process called deep learning must be trained with millions of hand-labeled images. The so-called AI labeling industry is projected to grow to $1 billion by 2023, largely dependent on tedious, cheap labor. Oh my gosh. One time, as a temp, I unloaded a semi-trailer full of frozen cookie dough, took it outside plus 90 plus temperatures and inside to a cold freezer. I got really sick the next day, because you're going, sub-zero Celsius to plus 20, 22 to sub-zero again. That's bad. And it was heavy stuff. That's tedious, bad labor. This is not bad labor. Recognize the stop sign in this picture. Okay, I can't. Tedious, it's boring, but I can't think that it's tedious. And many of these jobs are in Southeast Asia and Kenya, where workers sit at computers labeling millions of images, stop signs, animals, vehicles. Yeah, you got that? For as little as $2.50 an hour. As little as, could be more. Okay, now, what you got to remember is $2.50 might buy you an entire dinner out in those countries, okay? The cost of living is different. This is not slave labor, I hate to say. So lastly, let's go over here to will AI in digital marketing lead to marketer obsolescence? Will the computer take your job? Oh, I don't have time for this one. What's interesting is these are some of the top 10 analytics goals of data scientists. And look at how many are related to customer behavior. And then we hear every day how it's all figured out. We've solved all the issues. No, they haven't. And the more data they pile up, the more difficult it gets, because they don't have a good labeled data set, which is what my talk is about. Yeah, some things, I started doing marketing on spreadsheets, and a lot of that has transcended into automation. Fine, good. Although a lot of people have forgotten how to do the simple things that I showed them. Okay, during this period of hyper-automation, the number of digital jobs has grown, not shrunk. Okay, and basically, bottom line, a computer probably won't take your job, but somebody who knows AI and digital marketing might. And that's something to always keep in mind. Secondly, basically, we're all about ensuring customers get what they want, relevant, rewarding, and timely value exchanges. And for that, you have to listen to your customers. And guess what? People do that best.